You're watching The World with me, Charles Aniagulu. Now to Syria, where the government says it's ended a security operation against former members of the regime of Bashar al-Assad. The United Nations says that thousands of people have crossed the border into Lebanon to escape recent clashes in the coastal regions of Latakia and Tartus, which began last week between former regime supporters and government fighters. Hundreds of civilians are reported to have been killed as various militias allied to the new government joined in the fight and targeted the Alawite minority community from which the former leader Bashar al-Assad came. Well, Syria's new interim president, Ahmed al-Shara, who leads the new Islamist government, which seized power in December, says those who are responsible for the killings will be punished.
In a number of extremely disturbing instances, entire families, including women, children, and individuals hors de combat, were killed, with predominantly Alawite cities and villages targeted in particular. According to many testimonies collected by our office, perpetrators raided houses, asking residents whether they were Alawite or Sunni before proceeding to either kill or spare them accordingly. Some survivors told us that many men were shot dead in front of their families.
Well, for more on the Syrian crisis, I'm joined now on the line from Kaduna by the former head of the Nigerian mission to Syria, Ambassador Mohammed Musawa. Ambassador, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us. What's your sense of the reason behind the violence that's been unfolding in Syria's coastal regions of Latakia and Tartus in the past few days, a region I'm sure you know quite well?
Well, thank you so much. First of all, thank you, by having me in your program. The issue of the conflict in Latakia and the coastal region there, I think it was predictable, because the Alawites, they held power in Syria for decades. You know, the Hafiz Assad family, when he died, his son took over, and they made sure that they formed a very powerful clique of Alawites among themselves. So it is unfortunate, really, it shouldn't have happened. But then sometimes in a nation building, such unnecessary calamities do happen. When an authoritarian regime falls, you find some elements who took over try to revenge. So it's more or less like a revenge vision, which shouldn't have happened. But then the new regime actually is trying to take hold. It's trying to build the nation. But unfortunately, there have been several external forces that have been inside the country for too long. And in fact, it's a cocktail of rebel forces that ensure the downfall of Assad regime. So the current government, the interim government, has not taken full control of the whole country.
Right.
So these elements, sometimes they are rogue elements here.
Well, we're going to get to that because clearly you know, you understand the geopolitics in that area. But just to get through this most recent attacks in those sort of regions of Tartus and Latakia, it's your sense that those killings were targeted at former President Bashar al-Assad's Alawite community specifically?
Yes, actually they are, because if you see the modus operandi of the killings, you will see that they were targeted, as reported by the last reporter who mentioned that the gunmen entered into houses and they were trying to identify the Alawites before they shoot them. But the issue now is this, can you really say who are the people that did the killings? It's going to take the government a lot of time to fish out. Because as I tried to explain, you find that there have been ISIS groups, there have been terrorist groups, there have been the pro-democracy groups. So as I said, it's a cocktail of rebel forces that have tried to overthrow the regime. And up to now, there is no effective central control government operations.
So when the interim president, Ahmed al-Shara, who leads
Hello?
the... Can you hear me at all? Can you hear me? Oh dear, that's a problem, isn't it? He can't hear me, which is rather unfortunate because the conversation was going rather well. But again, in the middle of these things, the gremlins suddenly rear their rather ugly heads and everything goes belly up. Let's hope we can get him back because it really is a good conversation and he clearly knows the politics of Syria, and that's something that we haven't had the benefit of assessing over the last few days beyond delivering the news of what is actually going on there. And I understand that you're back with us, Ambassador Mohammed Musawa. Sorry for that interruption, but I was going to ask you that when the interim president Ahmed al-Shara, who leads the new interim government, says those who are responsible for killing civilians will be punished, it doesn't sound like you have much confidence that this will happen.
Well, exactly, because I don't know whether the interim government has taken full control of the apparatus of government. There have been, because the Alawites used to control the intelligence units, they used to control all the functioning institutions before Assad was overthrown a few months ago. So I don't know within the few months that they have taken over, they have been able to institutionalize some level of governance to enable them fish out those that have committed the horrendous crime there.
And do you think people in that area, those coastal regions and in other parts of Syria, trust the new authorities to protect them?
It will take time, really, for them to have full confidence in the new interim government because for them, they have lost power now and they see that they have lost almost everything. So it will be very difficult for them to now be very loyal and also very confident that the central government in Damascus will take control of their own region and provide security for them. And they will require some international support in this regard.
Right. And we heard, well, I mean, we heard earlier in the day that a major Kurdish group that controls parts of northeast Syria has agreed to be integrated into the country's national forces. That sounds like the new government is uniting the country, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. The SDF and the YPG groups, they have really come to embrace the government. Actually, these are groups that have been marginalized in the previous governments. Many of them have been regarded as stateless, and that is why they went, they took arms and they were confronting the government of Damascus. So all these issues are issues that would have to come up and will be sorted out, I'm sure, in due course. But the agreement signed 2 days ago, I think will go a long way in integrating all elements of the Syrian politics into the national government.
Okay, so the line has dropped, which is rather unfortunate, but it was very good talking with Ambassador Mohammed Musawa there. He made some very good points. We're also, I mean, crucial questions, as I mentioned, there's Israel. There's also, of course, Syria's other neighbors like Iran, for instance, which intervened heavily during the civil war on the side of Bashar al-Assad. It's not clear what sort of stake Tehran still has in Syria.